Today we're going to talk about not feeling good enough, okay? And living with any kind of disability is going to be a recipe for feeling like you aren't good enough, okay? But the fact of the matter is that feeling like you aren't good enough is pretty much one of those fears all of us humans have in common. Okay, that and a spider crawling inside of your ear at night and making a home there, and having little spider babies that burst out of your face when you're eating a froyo with your friends at the mall. You know, the real core universal fears of the human condition. I've talked to a bunch of people lately, okay? Those with illnesses and those without. And they all get into a funk and worry that they aren't good enough. Okay, we all do. So let's take a look at how that feeling in reality makes you more like everyone else than you realize, and just how your brain tends to default into I'm not good enough mode. Also, we'll discuss how to take that feeling and turn it into don't feel good enough kryptonite. Are we married to that name? No? Okay, we'll workshop it. We'll get a better name. Come up with something better. Anyway, let's start with a question, okay? How many of you, when something good happens, say things like, it was meant to be, or karma is rewarding me, or I guess this is what happens to the handsome people? All right, well, maybe not that last one. I mean, for me, yes, but for normal people. Listen, when something good happens, we rarely ascribe it to the fact that we actually deserve it or our own hard work. We almost always assume some cosmic force or universal deity spun their great wheel of ethereal favors and our name came up like some Price is Right game of spiritual plinko. You know? On the other hand, okay, when bad things happen to us, our brain almost immediately assumes it's our fault. We didn't work hard enough. We caused our own bad luck. We deserve it because we didn't tip the barista at Starbucks who made that nice foam heart on our coffee because he wrote the name Darm on the cup instead of Dan. Darm. Darm? Whatever excuse you use, you will bend over backwards to convince yourself that you are deserving of and the cause of whatever ill event has befallen you. Okay? You see the difference? Do you see how your brain has tricked you? Good things happen. The universe, not you, is responsible, right? But bad things happen. It's your fault. God wanted you to be a billionaire, but you screwed it up with that free will that you had to have. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that silly? Now that you see it laid out, I think you must realize that you are responsible for both the good and the bad. And sometimes neither. Sometimes things just happen. And they have nothing to do with you, okay? Maybe you didn't get that promotion not because you didn't work hard enough, but because your boss's idiot brother made him hire his do-nothing kid, and your boss couldn't say no because of that one time in college that his brother took the rap for that thing, That thing. You just don't know. So stop ascribing everything bad that happens to something you did or didn't do and start taking credit for the good that happens as well. Okay? Now listen, despite that, we're all going to get into that funk where we just feel like we aren't good enough. Okay? No matter what the cause, whether you're getting older or whatever. You never know what's going to bring it on either. It could be a chewing out at work, a breakup, or when they cancel one of your favorite TV shows again, and you have to watch that last episode where all the characters are in the future and they're reminiscing about their life, and then it makes you sad because you're like, what am I going to do in the future? Am I going to reminisce? And then you're depressed forever. How do we get out of these depressions? Huh? Well, it's actually easier than you think, You make a plan. Like we said earlier, plans are kryptonite for the don't feel good enough blahs. Do we like that one? No, I kind of hate it too. All right, we'll still think on that. Listen, I hear you say, though, through the internet, that's great, Dan, but it's not as simple as just inventing a plan. But it actually is. It actually is easy as one little word. Two. That's the word. Two. T-O. It's the word that's going to help you get out of that depression faster than you ever could have before. But Dan, how can such a small word possibly do all of that? Well, I'm glad you asked. And I'll show you. Just add it to the end. Finish the sentence. I'm not good enough to what? Get that promotion? Find a girlfriend? Buy a new house? Put a name to that inadequacy with the simple addition of the word to. Let's do an example. Let's say, I don't know, just pick something at random, completely unrelated, apropos of nothing. I'm not good enough to become a YouTube star. Totally random. So I'm not good enough to become a YouTube star. Why? By actually nailing down what it is you aren't good at, you can start to tame it. Okay? I'm not good enough to become a YouTube star because I don't have enough followers, or I don't have enough content, or I don't know anything about publicity on social media. Okay. Well, guess what we've just done? We've not only named the fear, but we made a to-do list to conquer it as well. I need to get more followers. I need to get more content. I need to learn how to publicize using social media. Bam! Done. We picked something we weren't good at that was weighing on us, right? And we made a plan to make it happen. That's what we just did. And now that we named it and planned it, your brain is going to have a much, much, much more difficult time keeping you depressed about it. You see, our brains they're wired to be afraid of the unknown. The phantom fear with no shape and no name, right? So it's easy to get depressed about not being good enough, as if it's some ghost presence in the room. You know, a nebulous fear of not being good enough is easy for your brain to spin out over, okay? But once you name that fear, and once you make a plan to do something about it, your brain will get over it. I promise, okay? Plans are kryptonite for feelings of inadequacy. Hey, that's the one. Plans are kryptonite for feelings of inadequacy, okay? And you just made one, whether or not you meant to, okay? So here's the bad part. Always a catch. Same thing I always say, you're going to fail. It won't be easy, and you're going to fail the first couple of times you try this. You're going to, okay? If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, and nobody would ever feel bad about not being good enough, right? But just stick to it, okay? And sooner or later, when you get that feeling of not being good enough, you'll be able to pull yourself out faster and faster, okay? So trust me. Stick to it, and it'll happen, okay? Anyway, if you like the video, please share it, okay? Comment, send an email, subscribe. I know the button is here somewhere, but they'll put it in later, so I'm not really sure where it is relative to me, but subscribe button, please, okay? Write a picture, send a smoke signal. I'll respond, okay? So be kind, rewind, and keep on keeping on. And we'll talk soon.